I'm Julie Legg, author of The Missing Piece and diagnosed with ADHD at 52. Welcome to ADH Difference. In today's episode, I'll be chatting with Raewyn Hayes, National Coordinator of ADHD New Zealand. So, welcome, Raewyn. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
No, you're most welcome. It's ADHD Awareness Month of October, so what a perfect time to talk to yourself, the National Coordinator of ADHD New Zealand. You would have had a very busy few weeks so far.
Yes, well, though it always generally is busy. I think people we generally get about 50 emails a day, usually. So, yeah, it's good. It's good busy, though. It's good.
Lots of inquiries, absolutely. So we've got so much to talk about, but I thought we'd start off with ADHD New Zealand as an organisation. How did it all start?
Right. Well, it started off as ADHD Association, and it started in 1979 in someone's garage, basically. I think the person had no idea where to find ADHD and realised that there was no information about ADHD because, of course, this was before the land of computers and Google and such. So started just reaching out, and she was inundated, mainly by parents with their children saying, where do you even find help? So it started off as basically a self-help group. And then in 2018, it became officially ADHD New Zealand. I took over this role in October 2019 from Marcelin, who had been the coordinator for like 15 odd years. So wow. It's been going a long time, a lot longer than a lot of people realise, but we've just been chipping away in the background.
That's brilliant. And tell me about, just briefly about the team. How many of you are in the organisation?
Right. Well, I'm the only paid employee of ADHD New Zealand. And I only officially work 25 hours a week, which is amusing. There's Suzanne, who's the chairperson, and we've just recently taken on a new general manager operations, Donna, so that's really awesome. And we're overseen by a board of about 9 board members, and they meet once a month and sort of channel which direction we're going, whereas I take care of the inquiries and the courses and the computers and just about everything else. But it's a good group. It's a passionate group.
I bet it is. So as an organisation, you do offer so much. Your website alone is jam-packed full of information.
Yes.
You know, in brief, there's events and you've got forums and you've got online resources and a whole bunch of things going on behind the scenes. So can we talk about the information so we can tell our listeners?
The information it's one of those things that's grown organically. It's like it started off small, I'd imagine. It was before my time it was created. I think it was originally created by a grant from Fonterra many, many decades ago. And so if anybody sees anything that's slightly dodgy, please email me, because you kind of do a bit of a deep dive every now and then and think, oh my goodness, what is that? But we try to offer as much as we can. I think our most visited site on the website is the adult self-screening tool. And that's visited, good 20, 30,000 times a month. There's hits on it, which I think sort of says a lot in the fact that we're getting more adults trying to find out about ADHD now. When I first started this job, excuse my voice, 5 years ago, it was mainly parents looking for children. But now, since 2020, 2021, when we all went into lockdown, it's now the adults looking for answers, which is really interesting. And of course, we have the healthcare directory when people are looking for psychologists or psychiatrists or pediatricians, that sort of thing. So, and of course, it's lots of different things. There's videos and there's, charts and there's random stories we may have found or news clippings or,
That's brilliant.
Mishy, but it's good.
but it's all there, isn't it? And
it's all there.
And I know that behind the scenes, other team members are really active in being the advocate for ADHD in New Zealand,
Yeah.
who is with government and things like that. So there's a lot of up-to-date information, whether it be changes or potential changes to Pharmac,
Yes.
it's all there. So it's a really good source of what's happening.
Yes, and we're always doing our annual surveys. At the moment, we've got the Parents of Children annual survey underway, so people can, complete that. We also have the Adults with ADHD survey, and that's the sort of facts and figures that are great, because we can go to the government and say, this is what the community wants, or if the media contact us, we can say, well, according to our research, blah, blah, blah,
Yes.
as opposed to so much research is all American or it's English, and it doesn't sort of have as much of a bearing on us. So this way we can kind of keep the finger on our pulse sort of
Yes.
thing. Yeah, and of course, over the years, because we've got all this stuff, media are now coming to us, or Pharmac will come to us and say, about the shortages of medication we're having at the moment. They give us the announcements and we spread it out to the community. So it's quite nice. We're no longer getting ignored. We're actually, people are contacting us now, which is kind of cool.
Absolutely. No, that's fabulous. But not
Yeah.
only the website online, you have a host of other resources available. And, I'd like to talk
Yeah.
about events and your forum too on social media.
Yes,
Yeah.
Facebook groups. The Facebook groups have grown so much. When I started 5 years ago, I think my predecessor says, "Oh yes, we've just started up these Facebook groups," and I think they're okay. So just pop in every now and then, which popping in. I mean, I'm so grateful to our team of volunteer moderators who look after them, because there's over 10,000 members. We've got the adults with ADHD, so 10,000 there, 10,000 in the parents of children with ADHD. And there's also a smaller group, the partners of adults with ADHD. So we've got 3 of them going. And I think it's great because it stops that isolation. I think when you have a child who's diagnosed with ADHD, or yourself, it's that kind of, well, who else is this? I remember when my son was diagnosed, 15 odd years ago now, it is isolating, and it's nice to be able to reach out. And I think the Facebook groups do that because, you can be anywhere in the country and you can go online, and the moderators try to keep it as safe, and, it can be a bit tricky sometimes. I think people, you can't read tone and messages, and so the moderators just kind of keep an eye on things, which is really awesome.
Yes.
So,
And I think when you're beginning your ADHD journey, to feel that you're not alone, and to be with tribe, albeit not in person, but to hear of other people going through similar challenges, or struggling in various ways, it's really nice to know that you're not alone with that regard. And so the forum, I think, can be quite cathartic. And
yes.
supportive, and even as a just an observer,
Yes.
just you don't have to be 100% active all the time, but just to pop in and check in. Yeah, it's really
Yeah,
good.
and
So
you get information you don't know to ask. That's, I think, the other thing too. People might be chatting about, I don't know, IEPs, individual education plans that they're doing with their children at school. And of course, the school hasn't mentioned it to you. How would you know what an IEP was? So that sort of stuff too. It kind of spreads information, and hopefully useful information.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also too, you run webinars quite regularly. So tell me about
Yes.
your webinar series.
Right, gosh, yes, we've actually picked up the pace in the webinars. We try to do at least one a month. We've got about 3 happening this month, which is really cool. It still started with our very first one, which was Finding Calm in the Chaos, which was quite good. That was, I think, middle of last year. But since then, we've had amazing ones like the role of nutrition on treating ADHD, hormones and ADHD, a lovely one on with yourself, with your book, The Missing Piece, which was really awesome. Autism, ADHD overlap, value of coaching and counselling, that sort of thing. We even had one last week, the Embracing the Chaos. So back to Embracing the Chaos,
Oh,
which
brilliant.
was a nice to start the ADHD Awareness Month because it was actually a really positive one. It was like all the positive stuff about ADHD, which is nice because so often it's all about, how to fix yourself, where you don't actually require fixing.
Correct.
It's not a
Absolutely.
disability. So it's like,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
kind of like you're not broken, you don't need fixing.
That's brilliant.
There's a lot of that
Um,
kind of stuff.
with the
Yeah.
webinars, because I have attended directly or indirectly webinar with you guys, it's really nice because it's a private group. And I think that's wonderful. So if there are any questions from the attendees, they can do that knowing that it's within the confines of that particular group, which is great. And also now it is a paid attendee thing. Could you explain how that works as a financial member?
The non-financial, because that can be a bit confusing too. It's like, what does that mean? A financial member is somebody who's paid to be a member of ADHD New Zealand. We charge $39.95 for the year, and that gives you discounted rates in the webinars. And we're trying to encourage businesses to give us discounts for our members. That's kind of the main goal. Long term is what we're hoping for. Or it's $59.95 for a non-financial member, and that gives you a year's membership for ADHD. So we kind of do that with those ones, as well as our main course, which was the only course for quite some time, was our online Everyday with ADHD parenting course. And we run that 3 times a term, and that's $74.95 for financial members, or $114.95 for non-financial members. And so we try to sort of do a little bit more, and then they become a member for the year, and then they get things at a reduced rate. But I think it's kind of nice. Then you're part of the community. You get your e-newsletter, which is me kind of rambling on, but also about what workshops are coming out, or webinars, events, that sort of thing. We haven't actually had a physical conference since 2019. We used to always try to, so I'm hoping in the near future we may have another one, hopefully next year, because 2020 happened, and then 2021, and then everything kind of just went online, basically. I think that's from that point on. But I like the in-person touch a bit more, but then in saying that, online means we can get everybody from the top of New Zealand right down to the bottom. So it's not, locked in just for a big centre like Auckland or Wellington. So
that's
trade-off.
Absolutely, that's great. And also too, with the financial membership too, because ADHD New Zealand isn't a government department. It's not funded by anything. It's really self-funded. So if attendees can contribute by way of membership, that goes towards the whole operation and the whole thing ticking over and being available for everybody. So I think it's a small price to help your community in which we're all thriving and learning every day from.
Also, we have I'm going to put a plug in for our Ask an ADHD Coach sessions too. We have our three amazing coaches, Alex, Brett and Tracy, who offer these every month. And Alex's is aimed at adults with ADHD, and Brett's parents of teens with ADHD, and Tracy's children with ADHD. And it's a great way to just kind of chat with an ADHD coach and a small group of like-minded people. And that's just on the price of a donation. So you could just do that for $1 or whatever you would like to donate, really. So it's and we'll be doing those again next year. So they're really cool.
Is that in the same format as a webinar? Yes. So you register, you're in a small group, and you get to ask lots of questions, and maybe some, to a real coach.
A real trained coach. And it's really cool because usually it's me. I go to all the webinars and all the ADHD coach sessions. It's me and the other coach and maybe about 4 or 5. I think the biggest group we've had was about 20 with Alex. But generally it's small, and it's quite cool, especially with the teen ones, because I have teenagers with ADHD still, so I get to sort of sit there going, oh, I'm open this. Yes, I remember that. And it's kind of like a really in-person support group with an actual trained coach, which is awesome.
Yes.
So yeah, definitely look out for those. But yeah, so it's offering a lot more than we used to regarding courses and stuff. I think that's really cool because I get a lot of inquiries from people wanting help or where do they go for help, and I kind of direct them. I feel like a signpost. We're navigators, so we direct them here, direct them there. But it's nice to be able to say, well, we've got a coach coming up, a course coming up, like one we've got coming up next week, which is anxiety in teens with ADHD, which I thought was quite timely for exams. Or there's an ADHD with girls course coming up in November. So that sort of thing. You can tell where I am in my life with which courses are. I'm thinking my daughter with the November one, I'm thinking, oh, she's getting a bit anxious. I'll put in a webinar about ADHD in girls.
I've been asked quite often by grandparents of grandchildren with ADHD. And they've kind of taken it upon themselves to seek more information, to try and understand their grandchildren, but also to support their own children, if that makes sense. So they feel that they're the conduit between, they're trying to make sense of it all. And so, so I've been quite surprised how the older adults are really invested now. Whereas once upon a time, it was a stereotypical young boy, and things have very much changed since the 80s. But yeah, they're really invested, and I think that's really nice. So so potentially that could be a good webinar too for older adults. Yeah.
You're quite right. I do get a lot of contact from grandparents raising grandchildren. I am huge admiration for grandparents who are raising their grandchildren. Oh my goodness. Especially when there's other things on top of just that, as well as like ADHD, autism or whatever else. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yes, it's not easy. But
so what are the most common questions that that come to you on a sort of a regular daily or a weekly basis?
Mostly, interestingly enough, when I first started, it was parents saying, my child is having trouble at school. How do I get them assessed? That sort of thing. But that is a very rare question these days. It's mainly women, interestingly enough, asking how to get it assessed or diagnosed, or they ask advice about medication, that sort of thing. But we don't have a particular stand on medication because we know it's hugely personal decision either way, but I can just sort of say, well, psychiatrists diagnose, prescribe and blah, blah, blah. So I can't really offer in that direction. But sometimes it's just for a chat too, sort of like, this is getting really hard. What do I do? So I usually suggest coaches. I'm a huge advocate for coaches and talking, and because I think a lot of people kind of get sold on this whole, the medication's a silver bullet, but I'm big on coaching.
Yeah.
It's cool. But and there's also that stigma. It's like, my child is having problems. Oh no, what will people think of me? But I think it's changing. I don't think I'm hoping it's changing, because it's that whole stigma of, but it could be just that deep in the ADHD community.
Look, I do think it is changing. I mean, my wish is that ADHD is normalized, and it's part of the chat, and it's not so much of a shock horror. In fact, I don't believe it is. I think with, everyone will know of someone who's been diagnosed recently, whether it's your neighbour or a workmate or your partner or a family member. And so I think these discussions are happening more and more, which is brilliant. Yes. And the more that we can own it and try and push away some of these misconceptions and myths, the better it is for everybody. But so it's all about understanding the ADHD. I'm with you, Raewyn, with regards to when it comes to strategies. That's another question I get asked all the time. And I say, look, I can tell you mine, but they will make no sense to you, because, I've identified my trip hazards, and I've done something about them, or I've got tools in my toolbox to address them. But everybody is so different. And that's why I think someone like a coach, where one-on-one you can actually explain what your problem is. And it's so different because ADHD isn't this one size fits all disorder. And therefore you're not going to have the same identical problem in the same environment to the same, excessiveness,
Exactly.
because very much a scale. So, good on you. Well,
Yes.
ADHD New Zealand, I think, is doing an amazing job and spearheading ADHD for the country. And given the numbers, the increases in diagnoses, I take my hat off to you, and I just think it's such a wonderful, wonderful organisation. And I think those that are on their own personal ADHD journey, really, if they haven't already found your website, but to really look to see how more involved they can be in the greater community through you guys.
Thank you. I always feel a bit, I want to say yes, I do feel bad because a lot of people with the constant emails I get, sometimes some slip through. So if I do not get to you, please email me back, because I sometimes will lie awake and go, oh my goodness, I saw an email that I didn't respond to. Oh my goodness. But I try to do the best we can, because a lot of people think we're way bigger than we are.
Yes.
I get phone calls and people go, oh, are you on the front counter or are you in the back office? I'm like, no, it's just me.
I am. I am. Wow.
So we kind of do what we can on a huge shoestring, basically. And like you said, we don't get government funding. We are purely on donations, memberships, and grants. And so I also send out all the grant applications every year and keep everything crossed and hope that some of the grant money will come through, and we keep going. So
that's brilliant. That is brilliant. Well, in the copy for this podcast, I'll be putting all the links so listeners can go and read that and find forums on Facebook as well as the website for all your mighty information.
Oh, thank you. For your support too, Jenny. I mean, we do appreciate spreading the good work on ADHD.
No, absolutely. No, I'll be spreading the word for a long time. Absolutely. Look, I will say thank you very much, Raewyn, for your time. As I said, I know it's a really busy month, and as the national coordinator, you know what's going on, and thank you so much for sharing more insight into the organisation.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I don't usually get out to talk to people in my office, so that's really nice. You usually hear from Darren, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.